Hello, accept my greetings. I am Mala, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Last week, I offered to you some corrections on a couple of words that people often misuse them or confuse them, especially when it comes to spelling, and probably because of pronunciation difficulties. In today's video, I want to talk about a very common cause, a very common factor, a very common reason why some people make the grammatical errors that they make. Yes, of course, it is natural, normal for every human being to make mistakes and errors, but we always strive to reduce them. So I'm not saying I'm a perfectionist. And of course, there are also some advantages to making errors if we make those errors and we learn from them. But it is important to note that any piece of communication, whether it is oral or written, that is filled with too many errors or whether typos or other forms of errors and mistakes will often not achieve its goal of communicating to whosoever it was intended. So that's why in today's video, I will be taking you through a very common reason. And I hope that by the end, we will be able to stop committing errors because of that kind of reason or those kinds of reasons. Again, accept greetings from Yaoundé, the capital of Cameroon. That being said, please subscribe to this channel and click on the notifications button. And without further ado, I will share my screen with you to illustrate today's lesson. Yes, here we go. The point of today's discussion is how to avoid avoidable grammatical errors. And I've seen that many people, when they speak and when they write English, they commit errors or they make mistakes, a lot of them, not because they came naturally, but instead because people are struggling to speak, to impress, to prove that they know a lot of English. And that's why, like, somebody, instead of using very simple terms that will make another person, your listener, your interlocutor, understand you, people will find themselves trying to pick up very high sounding words. And for the most part, words which they don't master, words whose pronunciations they don't master, and words whose spellings they don't master. And in that case, you land yourself in trouble because one, your communication doesn't flow, and two, sometimes you even ridicule yourself. Whereas there are many, many simple words available that could have been used to pass across the same message you had to pass. So when you observe on social media, on Facebook, people commenting on posts, whether bloggers, popular bloggers post or simple post on people's timelines, or you out of Facebook, perhaps on Twitter, and then even when people speak, a lot of people fall into this trap of committing errors because they wanted to please, to impress, to prove that they know a lot of English, which is completely wrong. So if you are wondering how to avoid avoidable grammatical errors, do not speak and do not write with the intention of impressing others, of making others feel that you know. No, that will not give you anything. Nobody will eat any any meal on your table because you spoke so well or because you spoke with very high sounding words or big grammatical words in quote. No, speak with simple, clear, concise, and precise words and let your message go across. So speak or write always with the intention to communicate, because that is the essence. That is why language is there. That is why language exists. Language exists so that we can communicate, not so that we can show that we know it. So to illustrate what I mean by how you can go about avoiding this very simple avoidable error sometimes, I'm not saying that all errors come from this idea, or that this factor alone is responsible for all the errors that people make. And neither am I saying that any human being is free from making errors or mistakes in language, but I'm saying we have to always strive to reduce them as much as possible. That being said, I want to use the same words I used last week with only one addition to show you how simple people could avoid using those words in their wrong spellings and still communicate. So for any needs of clarity between the words, because the words you'll be seeing in red are words that people confuse, wrongly use in place of those in blue, okay? And then on my right-hand side, I'm giving you the alternative, the simple words that you could use if you are confused. If you don't know the spelling of a word, think about a synonym. Think about another word closest in meaning that can convey what you want to say, your message, and forget about trying to impress people. That's what I'm talking about today. So border, a very simple close word to border would be worry. Okay, so it does not bother me. This is the correct spelling, border. But there is this word many people will use here, and it means a different thing. And if you doubt what it means, please go to my video of last Saturday. So instead of saying border, if you doubt the spelling, or if you think you will find yourself juggling between this spelling, which will be the wrong one here, and this one, which is the correct one, simply say worry. So you will say, it doesn't worry me. And people will understand what you mean. Okay? Instead of saying it doesn't bother me, I use border in this bracket in red, which means a boundary. You are off topic and you're trying to impress, and you could simply use worry and you solve that problem and we get what you want to say. Same thing. They are not bothered by the scandal, okay? Instead of using this one in brackets, which will be the wrong one here, what you would do is simply use worry, and you will instead say, they are not worried about the scandal. And everybody will get what you are saying, okay? Everybody will understand what you mean. But if you want to try to impress people, you will be struggling to use border where you don't know how to spell border, and then maybe you end up using border, and you've just put people off, okay? Next. Now, many people try to use the word alter, to alter a word, to say a word, okay? And they just want to use this because they want to sound like they know a lot of English. But you can just use the simple word, the verb to say, and it will say everything that alter could say. And you will be out of problems, okay? You will be completely out of problems. Because you will see people, instead of using alter, some will talk about altar, some will talk about altar, the altar of God, the spiritual altar, or altar as in to change something. And these are wrong words here. And you see a lot of people giving either the concealed post or whatsoever, and they're trying to use these words to impress people, to make people who are reading in the comment section feel that this guy is very, very strong in grammar. And so what? No, please, just strive to communicate. Just strive, just endeavor to make sure that your message is passed across. That's the important thing. And so you find a lot of people struggling to show that, oh, they are very much educated by trying to use words that they don't master their spellings or sometimes their meanings. And you end in trouble. Whereas they are very simple words you could use. As in this case here, say will solve this problem. He did not alter a word when he saw me. This is correct, alter in blue. But if you were to use alter and alter, because, or if you once you start doubting between these three spellings, please drop it and say he did not say a word when he saw me, and that's all. We will get what you are saying. Whether you are writing, whether you are speaking, do this. She confronted me, but I never uttered a word. So correct, uttered, not alter and not alter. No. And if you once you start confusing these three, just drop, please, and use what is easy. Say, and it means the same thing. So you say, she confronted me, but I never said a word, and that's all. Let's take bridge, okay? Which many people confuse with a bridge. Bridge. You could use end. You could use stop. So without any warning, my boss breached my contract. If you are going to confuse this correct one, the bluish one, with this reddish one, please kindly drop this and use ended my contract. And you'll be fine, absolutely. So without any warning, my boss ended my contract. You can also use stop, okay? So you can have an example like this one. I have breached the contract. And then once I am doubting these two spellings, and the correct one, of course, is in blue, what do I have to do? Simply, I will use stop. I will say I've stopped the contract. Or I will say I have discontinued the contract. I've ended the contract. And everything is clear. Instead of trying to use breach, and then you don't know how to pronounce it, and you don't know how to write it, and you confuse it with bridge. Oh my God. You see how we land ourselves in trouble because we're trying to sound like we know? No, please. It's not about trying to sound like we know. Let's try to communicate. And I always repeat, errors are natural, but we have to limit them. Let everything we say, let not every page you've written be filled with errors, and let not every sentence you make be filled with errors, but always be aware that nobody is perfect. You can make errors, but strive to reduce them, bring them down to the lowest possible number. Nowadays, a lot of people spell this word wrongly as three words, and it's actually one word, spelled as you can see now. Now and then a days. And you can use these days in plural, or you can say presently, or you can say at the moment, or you can even say today, and it will mean the same thing as nowadays. So instead of using now, our days, as in this case here, which is completely wrong, use nowadays. And if you doubt, and once you start doubting how to spell this, please just use these days, and that will be fine. So you can say nowadays, most people buy and sell online. You can also say these days, many people buy and sell online. You can say presently, many people buy and sell online. You can say today, many people buy and sell online, and we will understand that today there is a generic form. It doesn't actually mean a specific today. It means this time. It means this present moment, this present era, this present moment or longer duration. Okay. Yeah. So in the example number 2, nowadays, which is correct in blue, climate change is so real. But if you will start doubting this spelling and you start confusing it with this very, very wrong one here, please just say presently, climate change is so real. And that's all. Here you've communicated. Finally, I've added to the words I talked about last week, I've added this one today, choose and select. Although yes, of course, I've already talked about choose in the past in some of my videos, so you can go back and watch. Choose in the infinitive form, to choose is with double O. And it can also mean select. You can use select if you start confusing how many O's to put where and when. So that's why, for example, number 1, I choose. Choose with one O is the past simple tense of to choose. But there is nothing in English as choose with the D, no. So once you start seeing yourself almost writing this kind of nonsense, why not just drop choose and use select? So that instead of saying, I choose the best shirt in the shop, you could say, I selected the best shirt in the shop. Okay? It's shirt here, please, not shop, yeah. So yeah, I choose the best shirt in the shop. I selected the best shirt in the shop. And it solves the problem of confusion between choose and choose there, which does not exist. Finally, can you choose a pair of trousers for me? Can you choose a pair of trousers for me? Once you start doubting, because if you use choose here now, which is actually the past tense, it will be wrong, okay? This is the past simple of to choose. If you use this one here, this will be wrong, because here you have to use choose in its basic form, in the infinitive, but without the infinitive marker too. So you say, can you choose a pair of trousers for me? It is can plus verb in the base form. So if you start confusing this, please, if you find yourself in this kind of thing, don't try to impress. Just say, can you select a pair of trousers for me? And you are done. And it's okay, you've communicated. So what am I actually saying? I'm saying that while there are many factors responsible for the kinds of errors and mistakes that people make in English and any other language, some of these errors and mistakes come from the fact that people want to speak to impress others, to prove that they know, to claim that they have reached a certain level of education. And that is not helpful. That is not important. So at every moment when you speak or when you write something, be sure that the objective you are pursuing, the objective you are going behind is to communicate, is to pass across a message. And a message is not passed across unless it is understood on the other end of the spectrum. So do not try to impress people. Do not try, whether you're writing or you're speaking, to claim or that you know a lot and then you land yourself in trouble. Please, once you start doubting the spelling of a word or the pronunciation of a word, quickly look for a replacement. Rephrase the whole sentence, change the sentence in such a way that you don't have any need for that. I will be coming back again some other time on this whole idea of being able to avoid this kind of avoidables, even when it comes to examinations and all this stuff. As I used to have the experience, I knew how to avoid problematic questions. I knew how to not to land myself in trouble because I'm trying to impress anybody. I went for essential things in my days in secondary and high school, and that helped me, even in primary. So I'll be coming back to those things in future, but I hope that today you have learned something. And that thing, I repeat, is do not speak, do not write to impress people. Speak or write to communicate, and you will be understood and appreciated. Thank you. Subscribe to this channel. Share this video. See you next time.